Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. I think this one's going to hit home for a lot of you. We're talking about achieving success, not just in one area, but like across the board. Career, relationships, money, personal growth, the whole shebang.
Right, like finding that balance, which is always easier said than done.
Exactly. And today we're going to get some wisdom from, well, a kind of unexpected source.
Yeah, it's this document all about spiritual principles, but hold on, before you click away thinking this is getting all preachy.
We promise we're going to pull out the practical stuff. We'll see how these principles, even if they sound a bit out there, can actually be applied to your everyday life.
Exactly, it's all about finding those nuggets of wisdom wherever they might be hiding.
So get ready for some ha moments, because this deep dive is going to challenge your thinking. You might even be inspired to make some positive changes.
Sounds good. So the first principle that really stood out to me is this idea of laser focus. The source, it really emphasizes this unwavering focus on your highest goal.
Okay, but focusing, in this day and age, that's like the hardest thing ever. We're constantly bombarded with distractions. So how do we actually apply this principle in a world where our attention is being pulled in a million different directions?
Well, think about it this way. Let's say you're in a crucial negotiation at work. If your mind is wandering off somewhere, or you're worrying about what your colleagues think, or you're second-guessing yourself, you're not going to perform at your best, right?
So it's not just about having a goal. It's about actually training our minds to stay present, engaged.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop at work either. Let's say you're trying to have a real, meaningful conversation with your partner, but instead of listening, truly listening, your mind's replaying that annoying thing they did earlier.
Oh, been there.
Right? That's where laser focus comes in. You're choosing to be present in that moment, putting aside the distractions and focusing on the connection.
This makes me think about all the times I've tried to meditate, and my mind just races with to-do lists. Is laser focus the key to actually quieting those mental distractions?
Absolutely. It's about gently guiding your attention back to your breath or whatever your focus is, over and over again. It's a practice, like any skill, takes time and effort.
So we're not talking about becoming robots who never get distracted.
Right.
It's more about recognizing when our minds wander
Yeah,
and then having the tools to bring that attention back to the present moment.
exactly. Now, the source also dives into this concept of detachment.
Detachment.
Yeah, I know it sounds a little strange, especially when we're talking about building successful relationships.
Right. My first thought is, how can you be detached and still be a loving partner, a parent, a friend? Seems counterintuitive.
It does. The source describes it as, get this, dying alive.
Dying alive.
Yeah, a bit dramatic, right? But what it really means is letting go of attachment to temporary things. Our physical body, material possessions, even our ego.
Okay, I can see how clinging too tightly to material things, that can lead to stress, unhappiness. But how does detaching from our ego actually help us? And isn't a healthy ego kind of necessary for things like setting boundaries, advocating for ourselves?
Oh, you're hitting on some really important points. It's not about erasing our ego completely. It's more about shifting our focus. Think about those arguments we all have, with loved ones, where you're both clinging to your own perspective, unwilling to budge.
Oh, I know those arguments all too well.
Right, everyone ends up frustrated and nobody feels heard.
Exactly.
That's where this detachment comes in. It's about letting go of the need to be right all the time. Choosing understanding over ego. It's like saying, okay, I see your perspective, and even though I don't agree with it, I respect your right to have it.
So it's like finding that balance between having a sense of self, but also being able to step outside of our own ego to connect with others.
Precisely. There's that saying, you can be right or you can be in relationship. And sometimes choosing connection over being right, it leads to a much deeper, more fulfilling experience.
This is making me think about work too. I know I get so caught up in wanting my colleagues to approve of my ideas. Could detachment help me be more open to feedback, more collaborative?
Absolutely. When we're attached to the outcome of proving ourselves right, we miss out on the opportunity to learn and grow from different perspectives. Detachment lets us be more receptive to feedback, even if it's critical.
So instead of seeing feedback as a personal attack, we could view it as a chance to refine our work.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a big shift in perspective.
it is. And this idea of detachment, it actually ties into the next principle. This one's about inner wealth. The source, it emphasizes accumulating what it calls imperishable income, focusing on virtues, knowledge, wisdom, all that over material possessions.
So it's about building a kind of wealth that can't be taken away, even if we lose everything else.
Exactly.
What does that actually look like practically? It sounds a bit abstract.
Think of it like this. You've spent years building a successful career, you're at the top of your game, and then, bam, you lose your job. Unforeseen circumstances could happen to anyone.
And that can be devastating, financially and emotionally.
Absolutely. But if you've also cultivated this inner wealth, strong values, resilience, adaptability, a deep well of knowledge and skills.
You're much better equipped to handle it.
Exactly.
So it's about having those internal resources that can help us through those tough times, no matter what's happening externally.
Imagine this. You lose your job, right? But if you've cultivated resilience as part of your inner wealth, you're more likely to bounce back, to see it as a chance to reinvent yourself or pursue a new path.
It's about having that inner strength, that flexibility to navigate challenges without losing sight of your goals.
Exactly. And resilience, it's not just about bouncing back from the big failures. It's about weathering those everyday ups and downs, those stresses and disappointments, just part of being human.
This is making me think like, how do I react when things don't go my way? Do I get flustered? Do I give up easily? Or do I have that inner strength to just keep going?
It's about building that mental and emotional muscle. Just like physical exercise strengthens our bodies, facing challenges and overcoming setbacks, while they strengthen our resilience.
So it's not about avoiding challenges. It's about seeing them as opportunities to build that inner strength, those qualities that will help us throughout life.
Now, another aspect of inner wealth the source talks about is this: cultivating virtues. I know it might sound a little old-fashioned, but trust me, it's so relevant today.
Yeah, when I think of virtues, I think of like those old paintings of Greek philosophers. Honesty, integrity, compassion. What do those have to do with success in today's world? It seems almost quaint.
Well, think about it. In a world where it's all about competition, getting ahead, those who have strong virtues, they stand out. They build trust, inspire loyalty, create a positive ripple effect.
So it's not just about being a good person. These qualities, they're actually assets.
Exactly. Let's say you're building a business. If you're operating with integrity and honesty, you build a reputation. People want to work with you.
It's the foundation of a strong brand. People want to do business with those they trust.
And it's the same with personal relationships. Cultivating those virtues, kindness, compassion, empathy, it strengthens our bonds with others, creates a more fulfilling, harmonious environment.
So inner wealth, it's not just knowledge and skills. It's developing those core qualities that make us better humans, contribute to a better world.
The source reminds us we're all connected. Our actions, thoughts, choices, they all impact the world.
It makes me think about all those little acts of kindness we see. Holding a door open, a genuine compliment, just listening with empathy. Are those forms of inner wealth being shared?
Absolutely. And those small acts, they can have a ripple effect, creating a more positive and compassionate world.
Now, we've talked a lot about effort and discipline, but the source also emphasizes solitude. And I'll be honest, for me, finding solitude is a real challenge.
Oh, I hear you. It's a noisy world, always demanding our attention. But the source argues it's in those moments of solitude, when we disconnect from all that external noise, that we can truly connect with ourselves.
I get how solitude could be good for meditation or creative work, but how does that help in our everyday lives?
Think about all the decisions we make, big and small. If your mind is constantly cluttered, it's hard to make clear, thoughtful choices.
So true. I've made impulsive decisions I regretted later because I wasn't present.
Solitude, it allows us to step back, clear the mental clutter, and connect with that inner wisdom. It gives us space to reflect on our values, figure out our priorities, make choices that align with our true selves.
This makes me think about those times I felt overwhelmed, stressed. Just taking a few minutes to disconnect can make a huge difference.
And it doesn't have to be this big thing. It could be a few minutes sitting in silence, a walk in nature without your phone, creating a quiet space at home where you can unwind.
Those little moments of peace throughout the day. Those moments where we can just be.
And those moments, they can be so restorative. You recharge, reconnect with your inner wisdom, and approach the rest of your day with calm and clarity.
It's like hitting the reset button,
Yes.
allowing us to come back to our tasks with renewed energy.
It's counterintuitive, right? We think being busy equals being productive, but sometimes slowing down, taking a pause, just allowing ourselves to be, it's the most productive thing we can do.
This reminds me of all those times I've tried to power through my to-do list without any breaks. I just end up feeling frazzled. Maybe incorporating some solitude would actually make me more productive.
Exactly. And it's in those moments of quiet reflection that we often have our biggest breakthroughs, those creative insights. When we let our minds wander without all that external input, it opens us up to new possibilities.
Yeah, it's like those times I've struggled with a problem, and then the answer just pops into my head while I'm taking a shower or out for a run.
It's like our subconscious mind. It's working behind the scenes, and it needs that space, that quiet, to process and come up with these creative solutions. So if you're feeling stuck, uninspired, try taking some time for solitude. You might be surprised what comes up.
This has been so insightful. I've covered a lot, and I feel like I have a whole new view on what it means to be successful.
It's not just about those external goals, the wealth and all that.
Right.
It's about cultivating that inner wealth, a resilient, positive mindset, and realizing that challenges, well, they're actually opportunities for growth.
And it's about those daily choices we make, aligning our actions with our values, focusing on what truly matters, and creating a life that's both meaningful and fulfilling.
You know, if there's one thing I hope our listeners take away from this deep dive, it's that they have the power to create the life they want. It all starts with taking ownership of your thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
It's about embracing the journey, the ups and downs, and trusting that you have that inner strength, the wisdom, to navigate whatever comes your way.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. Reach out to your support system, connect with others, and never stop learning and growing.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep striving to create a life that is truly your own.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, last time we were talking about detachment, and you brought up a good point about, setting boundaries.
Yeah. It's not about being a pushover.
Right, exactly. So how do we balance this detachment thing with the need to assert ourselves, especially, in situations where we need to stand up for ourselves, protect our well-being?
Right. It almost feels contradictory.
It does, but that's where it gets interesting. It's about understanding that difference between, healthy self-respect and being controlled by ego. Let's say, for example, you're in a situation at work where someone is taking credit for your ideas.
Ugh, I've been there. So frustrating.
The worst, right? Now, if you react purely from ego, you might lash out, get angry, or feel this desperate need to prove you're right no matter what. But if you approach it with detachment...
You can take a step back, assess the situation calmly.
Exactly. Instead of immediately getting defensive, you can ask yourself, okay, what's the best way to handle this while staying true to myself?
Right, so you might decide, okay, I'm going to have a calm conversation with this person, make sure my contributions are acknowledged, or maybe I need to start documenting my work more carefully to avoid this happening again.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, don't react, respond.
Yes, detachment gives you that space to choose a thoughtful response rather than just reacting from ego or hurt.
That makes a lot of sense. So stripping gears a bit, let's go back to this idea of inner wealth. The source emphasizes that it can't be stolen, can't be lost in a market crash, any of that.
Right.
It's about those qualities that endure: knowledge, wisdom, compassion, resilience. But how do those qualities, those intangible things, translate into actual benefits in our lives? I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Okay, well, let's take resilience, for example. Imagine two people facing a setback, like let's say their business fails. One person who's focused only on external success, they might completely crumble.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one to come back from.
It is, but the person who has cultivated resilience as part of their inner wealth,
They'll handle it differently.
they might see it as a learning experience, a chance to grow, adapt. They'll analyze what went wrong, maybe adjust their approach, and come back even stronger.
So they have that inner strength, the flexibility to navigate the challenge without giving up on their goals.
Exactly. And resilience, it's not just about bouncing back from failures either. It's about handling those daily ups and downs, the stresses, the disappointments, just part of life.
This is making me think about how I react when things don't go my way. Do I get easily flustered? Do I give up? Or do I have that inner strength to push through?
It's about building that mental and emotional muscle, just like physical exercise strengthens our bodies, facing those challenges, overcoming those setbacks, well, it strengthens our resilience.
It's not about avoiding challenges now. It's about changing how we see them.
Right.
Seeing them as chances to grow, not just setbacks or failures.
And remember, you don't have to face them alone either. Lean on your support system, find mentors, maybe even a therapist. You have the strength within you to overcome whatever comes your way.
Now, another part of inner wealth that the source touches on is this: cultivating virtues. It sounds a little old school, but it feels relevant.
It really is.
Like when I think of virtues, I get this image of those Greek philosophers in togas. But honesty, integrity, compassion, how do those help us succeed in today's world? It almost seems out of place.
Well, consider this. In this crazy world where it's all about competition and getting ahead, people who actually have strong virtues, they stand out.
They do.
They build trust, inspire loyalty, create a positive environment around them.
So it's not just about being a good person. It's like these qualities are advantages.
Exactly. Think about building a business. If you operate with integrity, honesty, people trust you. That's huge for attracting clients, building those long-term relationships.
It's like the basis of a good brand. People want to do business with those they see as ethical, trustworthy.
Absolutely. And the same goes for personal relationships. Cultivating those virtues, kindness, compassion, empathy, it just makes our bonds with others so much stronger, creates a more fulfilling, harmonious environment.
So inner wealth, it's not just skills and knowledge.
Nope.
It's also about becoming better people, contributing to a better world.
The source really emphasizes that interconnectedness, our actions, our thoughts, our choices, they all have an impact.
It makes me think about those everyday acts of kindness we see. Holding a door for someone, offering a compliment, just truly listening to someone. Those are all forms of inner wealth being shared, right?
You got it. And those small actions, they can create a ripple effect, making the world a little more positive, a little more compassionate.
I love that. We've talked a lot about effort, discipline, but I feel like we need to circle back to solitude.
It's a big one.
It is, and it's a tough one.
I hear that. It's a world full of distractions, always vying for our attention.
Exactly.
But the source, it argues that it's precisely in those moments of solitude, when we disconnect from all the noise, that we connect with ourselves. Truly connect.
I get it for meditation, journaling, but how do we actually work that into our everyday lives?
It doesn't have to be these big retreats. It can be as simple as like 5 minutes in the morning just to sit and breathe, a walk in nature, leaving your phone behind, just finding a quiet space in your home where you can unwind for a bit.
Just those little pockets of peace during the day.
Yes. Just to be present without all the distractions. And those moments, they're so powerful. You recharge, reconnect with your inner wisdom, and you can approach the rest of your day with more calm and clarity.
It's like hitting that reset button for your mind and body.
Exactly. And you know what? It's often in those quiet moments that we have our biggest breakthroughs.
Really?
Yeah, those aha moments, when we give our minds space to wander without all the external noise, we open ourselves up to new possibilities.
This makes me think of those times when I'm wrestling with a problem, and then, bam, the solution hits me while in the shower or taking a walk.
Right. It's like our subconscious is working in the background, and it needs that quiet time to process information and come up with those creative solutions. So if you're feeling stuck, try some solitude. You might be surprised what comes up.
So it's not about being alone. It's about creating space to connect with ourselves.
Exactly.
And then we can bring that renewed energy, that clarity, back to our lives, to our work, to our relationships.
Now, speaking of challenges, the source has an interesting take on how we should approach them. It encourages us to see challenges not as setbacks, but as, well, chances to grow.
So not something to fear or avoid, but embrace.
Embrace them. The source actually compares challenges to building immunity. Just like our bodies develop a stronger defense each time we fight off an illness.
Our minds and spirits become stronger when we overcome challenges.
Exactly. It's not about, glorifying struggle or anything. It's about recognizing that challenges are just part of life. And how we respond to them, well, that shapes us.
So it's about shifting our perspective, seeing challenges as opportunities.
Exactly.
Not setbacks, not failures.
And remember, you don't have to go through them alone. Reach out to your support network, find mentors, maybe a therapist. You've got the inner strength to get through it. Trust me.
This has been so eye-opening. It's like we're building a roadmap for success, but not just the external kind, but the kind that brings real fulfillment.
That's the goal.
It is. So we've talked about inner wealth, resilience, facing challenges head-on. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but we're not done yet. In the next part, we'll explore how to actually put all this into practice. We'll talk about upgrading our mindset and making these principles a part of our everyday lives.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on quite a journey with these principles, and I'm ready to see how we can actually put all this together, make it work in our lives.
One thing that keeps coming back to me is mindset. The source really emphasizes that our thoughts, our beliefs, they shape our reality.
Right, but how do we change those negative thinking patterns, especially when things get tough? How do we actually upgrade our mindset?
Well, the source uses this great analogy. It compares upgrading our mindset to a software developer, updating old code. We have to identify those limiting beliefs, those habits that are holding us back, and consciously replace them with more empowering ones.
So we're like the programmers of our own minds. But where do we even start? How do we find those bugs in our thinking?
It all starts with awareness. Pay attention to your self-talk. What are those thoughts that pop up when you face a challenge? Are you focusing on the negative, dwelling on past mistakes?
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely guilty of that. I get stuck in those what-if loops, imagining the worst-case scenarios.
That's a common one. But what if, instead of going down that rabbit hole, we challenge those thoughts? Ask yourself, is this thought really true? Is there another way to look at this situation?
So we make a choice.
Yeah,
Focus on the positive, the possibilities, instead of the negative.
exactly. It's not about pretending challenges don't exist. It's about approaching them with a mindset that focuses on solutions and growth.
This reminds me of what we talked about earlier about effort. It takes effort not just to achieve our goals, but also to cultivate a more positive mindset. It's like a mental workout, right?
Absolutely. Just like we train our bodies to be stronger, we can train our minds to be more resilient, optimistic, and solution-focused.
You know, we talked about solitude before, but I think it's worth revisiting, especially in this context of mindset.
I agree. In this world, we're constantly bombarded with information and stimulation. It's hard to escape.
It is.
But the source really emphasizes that true clarity comes when we disconnect from all that noise.
I get solitude for things like meditation or journaling, but how do we make it part of our everyday lives in a way that's, enjoyable, not a chore?
It doesn't have to be hours of isolation. It can be as simple as, 5 minutes in the morning just to sit and breathe, maybe a week in nature without your phone.
That sounds nice.
Right. Or just creating a quiet space at home where you can decompress for a few minutes.
Creating those little pockets of peace throughout the day.
Exactly. And those moments, even if they're short, they can be so restorative. You get to recharge, reconnect with yourself, and approach in the rest of the day with a sense of calm and clarity.
It's like hitting the reset button,
Yes.
so we can come back to whatever we're doing feeling refreshed and focused.
We often think that being busy means being productive. But the source reminds us that sometimes slowing down, taking a pause, that's actually the most productive thing you can do.
This makes me think about all those times I've tried to power through my to-do list without taking breaks. I just end up burned out. Maybe incorporating some solitude would actually make me more productive in the long run.
It's counterintuitive, but it's true. And, it's often in those quiet moments that we have our biggest breakthroughs, those aha moments. When we give our minds that space to wander without all the outside noise, that's when those creative solutions come through.
It's like those times when you're stuck on a problem and then the solution hits you out of nowhere while you're doing something completely unrelated.
Right. It's like our subconscious mind, it's working in the background. It needs that space, that quiet, to come up with those creative solutions. So if you're feeling stuck, give solitude a try.
You might be surprised.
You might be. This deep dive has been so insightful. I feel like we've uncovered a whole new approach to what it means to be successful.
It's not just about those external achievements or material wealth. It's so much deeper than that.
It is. It's about cultivating that inner wealth, having a resilient and positive mindset, and understanding that challenges are opportunities for growth.
And it's about making conscious choices to align our actions with our values, focusing our energy on what truly matters, building a life that's both meaningful and fulfilling.
If there's one key takeaway, it's that you have the power to create the life you want. It all begins with taking ownership of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions.
It's about embracing the journey, the ups and downs, trusting that you have the strength and the wisdom to get through whatever life throws your way.
And remember, you're not alone in this. Reach out to your support system, connect with others, and never stop learning and growing.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it as insightful as we did. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep striving to create a life that is truly your own.